to fight the glare problem from my last Dead by Daylight video, I have opted to not turn my light on for this, and we're relying entirely on the natural light from my window. Dog, I just noticed right now, because I was looking at this offering card, the Murky Reagent, whatever. The mist seems to protect us from the beast, but it is a poison, a cancer, filling us with darkness and insanity. That is written by Unknown in a notebook. Not the Unknown, but someone unknown. And it says, during setup, the survivors do not reveal props. And I read that, and I said, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, they always didn't reveal props in the setup. What do you mean? So I go and I reread the setup. 5. Shuffle the props and place them face down into rooms. Each room indicates how many of each type of prop starts in that room. In turn order, each survivor reveals one prop anywhere on the board. Ah! Okay, I'm beginning to understand why the game might be survivor-sided, because that significantly fucking changes things. Because that completely removes the having to search for generators element from the game. You just know where all of them are because you reveal them at the start of the game. That's fucking crazy! I've been playing with that offering for the entire time I've been playing this game. I didn't even know that offering existed. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about Dead by Daylight, the board game, but not my misunderstanding of the rules of it. Can you see the wire in frame again? Motherfucker! The wire is basically like the main character of this channel. It's been on every video for the last few videos. Anyway, what's this video about? This video is about some killers in the Dead by Daylight board game that piss me the fuck off. 2 of them in particular. One of them I have played as and had a very frustrating experience with. The other one I have played against and had a different experience with. We're gonna start with the one that I think will be quicker to talk about, which is going to be... You know who that is? No ass, have an ass. It's the Trapper. Hey, it's me, except it's a few days later now. I realized that a very quick little gameplay summary would do this video wonders, in case you're not familiar with how the game works or you haven't seen my other video where I go into it. So I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible, although I'll not really do myself any favors if I don't know how to fucking speak. So there are 4 phases of gameplay. There's the planning phase, the survivors phase, the killers phase, and the cleanup phase. In the planning phase, everybody plays their movement cards. Usually survivors are going to play 1 movement card, and the killer is going to play 2 movement cards. Some killers play more or less movement cards, but for the most part, and in both of the killers that we're talking about today, it's going to be 2 movement cards. Movement cards, every survivor has the same hand of them, consisting of crouch. Let's see, can you guys see that? Yes. Crouch, vault, sneak, and sprint. The killer also gets a secret 5th card called wait. So everybody plays their secret movement card, and that's going to dictate where they move on their turn. Now, the survivor phase happens, which is where all of the survivors take a turn. Every survivor will go before the killer goes. That is very important and comes up often in this video. So one by one, each survivor moves and then takes an action. So for example, Ace Visconti here chose to crouch. There are 2 crouch paths that come out of his space. You can see how there's these 2 red lines with the crouch symbol, which means he can go along either path. Maybe he decides he wants to go into the back lot. Whenever you move into a space, you will flip over one of these little prop tokens. Usually there'd be a lot more of them on the board. I didn't feel like setting up the whole thing just for this example. There's 4 types of props. There are survival props, which are these blue ones, and altruism props, which are these green ones. Those are both just generally helpful things, usually helpful for the survivors primarily, although like one of them can kind of be good for the killer too. But for the most part, they are to help the survivors. There's also these yellow props. Those are objective props. Objective props are mostly generators. Which will come into play when we talk about the survivors' end goals. Then the red props are called boldness props. Those are mostly hooks. However, they can also be hex totems. They're just generally, those are the ones that the killer wants to flip. Survivors don't want to flip those. The yellow ones are the ones survivors want to flip. Killers usually don't want to flip those except for in certain extenuating circumstances. So after a survivor moves and reveals a prop, they get 1 interaction. Interactions are basically just what you do on your turn. So that can be healing a survivor, it can be interacting with a prop, sometimes it can be using a perk, which we'll get to, but in Ace's case, he's going to work this generator. Working a generator requires a skill check, which in the board game means a roll of this die. If he rolls a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4, then that is a success, which means that he will add 1 progress to the generator. For pretty much every roll, a success just means you do what you're trying to do. However, for certain actions, you can also roll a great success, which means that you get to do something extra. In the case of a generator, you put 2 progress instead of 1. A lot of actions don't have anything special happen on a great success, but in the generator's case, it does. There's also a failure. A failure means you don't achieve what you're trying to do, and you give the killer a blood point, which we will come back to. There's also this special other die called the danger die, which has 4 failures and 2 great successes on it. That comes up later, but some killer abilities force survivors to use this because it is much worse than a normal die. You don't want to be rolling this. So after all of the survivors have taken their turns, flipped their things, done their actions, the killer will then get their 2 turns. And their 2 turns are 2 completely individual turns. They run exactly the same as a normal turn. In this case, he reveals his first movement card, Sneak. He would flip a token if that hook wasn't already flipped. Then he gets to interact with a survivor. Get to interact with whatever he wants to interact with. In this case, it would be a survivor. When you interact with a survivor, if they are healthy, they become wounded, shown by clipping this little wounded thing around their base plate. Then, if you attack a wounded survivor, if you interact with a wounded survivor, let's say that he plays his weight card, interacts with a wounded survivor, you pick them up, and then you put them on a hook. If you put a survivor on the hook for the very first time, you get a sacrifice progress. So since that's Nia's first hook, 1 sacrifice progress right there. Then we enter cleanup. Cleanup does a bunch of stuff. Everybody picks up their movement cards again. Some stuff happens. But the most important thing is that for every survivor on a hook, the killer gains another sacrifice progress. What is sacrifice progress for? That's the killer's win condition. 8 sacrifice progress and the killer wins. How do the survivors win? Well, if they repair 4 generators, a generator needs 3 progress to repair. If survivors repair 4 of those, then they have to find the exit gates, which are another objective thing. They're the other thing that can be under the objective props. They have to get 3 repair progress on those, and as soon as those are repaired, survivors instantly win. They don't even need to all get to the gates. The killer just loses if that happens. So yeah, whoever gets their win condition first wins the game. The other important thing to mention is that killers and survivors alike all have 3 unique perks that they can activate. Every perk has 2 main things you need to worry about. There is the price, that is how many blood points you need to spend in order to use it. Everybody starts with some blood points, and you can get them by interacting with certain things throughout the game. You need to be able to spend that many to activate it, and then it says when you can activate it and what it does. So for example, Meg Thomas, who is on the board, Meg Thomas has Sprint Burst. When running, you're hard to catch. After you move with your movement card, move again along any other path. So if Meg snuck here and decided that she actually really wanted to be in the shack, then she could sprint on down to shack by activating Sprint Burst for 1 blood point. Killers, of course, also have those. And killers can also spend 4 blood points to take a killer bonus turn after their first 2 turns. So he, snuck and then waited, right? Let's say that then he decides that he wants to take a killer bonus turn. If he's got 4 blood points to spend, he can spend them, vault on down, and then he gets another turn interact. Importantly, killer bonus turns are really powerful. I'll explain this again when it comes up later, because it's important that I emphasize how good they are. But killer bonus turns are crazy because you don't need to play your movement card in the planning phase. The hard part about killer is that since everybody plays their movement cards at the same time, you can't just go where the survivors are. You have to go where you think they're going to be. So if you're here and you want to attack Jake, you actually don't want to play a vault card here. You want to predict where you think he's going and go there. So if you think he's going to sprint, you want to play your sprint card. However, with a killer bonus turn, the survivors have already taken their turns. They're all stuck wherever they are unless they have perks or anything that let them move when you come into their space, but that's another thing. So you can play reactively in a killer bonus turn. So very, very good. And it's a good use of 4 blood points. I believe that is everything that I need to explain about the base game. So now I'm going to go back to talking about the Trapper. Anything that I forgot, I will explain later. I also do want to add, like I said, I'm recording this several days after the original recording. In the original recording, I did the gameplay explanation halfway through talking about the Trapper, which was just really weird and clunky, and then throughout the rest of the video I kept going back and being like, oh, I think I forgot to say this in the gameplay explanation. So if you notice that I repeat myself throughout the course of this video, if you notice that I explained something and you're like, oh, he already explained that at the beginning, it's because this part was not originally in the video, and I'll try to cut out all of the redundancies, but sometimes I can't cut it out without ruining the flow of the section it's in, so please bear with me. But trust me, I have cut the amount of time that I spend talking about the rules of the game into a third by doing this instead of explaining it the way that it was originally. Anyway, back to the original video. Love you. The Trapper is a killer in Dead by Daylight. He's kind of the killer in Dead by Daylight. He's the one that's he's on the box for, look at him. Yeah, he's been kind of their poster child, even though they kind of hate him. They keep releasing all of these new killers that are so fucking insanely powerful and have 30 different abilities that they swap between. And then meanwhile, the Trapper still steps in his own traps unless he has that one add-on, which is crazy. They just need to make that base kit already. Let's be so fucking for real. Anyway, the Trapper. Let's read a little bit about him. The Trapper. Evan Macmillan. Difficulty? Hard. The Trapper is an area control killer, able to apply pressure across the board by placing deadly bear traps for survivors to step into. Use bear traps early to lock down key routes on the board. Avoid breaking walls when possible to force the survivors over your traps more often. Now, about these traps. Let's see, let's put him there. He's gonna start in the snack bar. He's hungry, he's a hungry boy. The Trapper's killer power is that he may place a bear trap along any connected path to his space. He only has 4 of these bear traps, which means that if they are all laid down, he has to remove one from somewhere else in order to put it on a new space. What do these bear traps do, you may be asking? If the Trapper walks through them, nothing. At least it doesn't say anything about that. It doesn't say whether or not he can move along them. So of course it's pretty reasonable to assume that he can. So this Trapper is actually stronger than the video game Trapper, which is very funny. But if a survivor moves through them, something special happens. If they move through and they are healthy, then they become wounded. But what if you are already injured and you move through? Do you become Giga injured? No. You instead give the killer 1 sacrifice progress. Having an ability that lets you get more sacrifice progress out of people seems insane, because if you get people through a trap 8 times, you just win. Or if you've hooked 2 people, that means that you have 4 sacrifice progress. All you have to do is get people with 4 traps and you win. Every time that somebody walks through a trap while injured, they get you 1/8 of the way closer to victory, which is pretty gnarly. Now, you might be wondering though, why would the survivors ever walk through a trap? Ever? That just seems like something they wouldn't do. And you're goddamn right. But luckily, the Trapper has perks. I'm going to start with the least relevant one, and then continue until we get to the one that explains why the Trapper is not as bad as he seems. His first perk, technically a second one, because we're saving the first for last. His second perk is Unnerving Presence. Your presence alone instills great fear. When a survivor in your space or a connected space would perform a skill check, they roll the danger die instead. So that's again a way that you can force people to roll the danger die. So let's say that Renato here was going to work on this gen again. Somehow he over the course of 2 turns got back here and was like, I'm gonna finish this gen, but the Trapper's right here and doesn't want him to finish the gen. Renato has a 5 in 6 chance of finishing the gen if he rolls the normal die, but the Trapper can spend 1 blood point to say, actually, now you only have a 1 in 3 chance, a 2 in 6, to finish that gen, because you're rolling the danger die instead. His second perk is Agitation. You get excited in anticipation of hooking your prey. After you attack a healthy survivor, move along any path. So let's say that he's in here, he whacks Sable, she becomes injured. I don't feel like putting the thing on, but imagine that she has the thing. Then I can be like, I'm gonna come pay a visit to Renato. And if I accounted for that when I was playing my movement cards, then maybe I played a wait card here, so that now I can just come either kick the gen or smack Renato in the face. His third and most important perk is Brutal Strength. Did I mention that all of his perks cost 1 blood point? I don't think I said that with Agitation. Brutal Strength. Your great strength allows you to shred through your prey's defenses. After you attack a healthy survivor, move them along any path. If you move them through a pallet or breakable wall, destroy the pallet or breakable wall. We're not going to get into that. Those are just things that, can fuck with you potentially. The important thing here is that I could move her through my trap, which means if I hit a healthy survivor, I basically get a free sacrifice progress out of it because I immediately get to move her through a trap. That must seem absolutely bonkers, and you might be saying, why am I talking about the trapper being weak? This guy just seems like a free win. You just go around smacking people. If they're healthy, you get a sacrifice progress because you push them through a trap. If they're injured, you get sacrifice progress because you pick them up and hook them. This guy seems crazy. It's because I left out one important detail of the trapper's power. I told a little fib earlier when I said that moving through a trap either injures you or gives a sacrifice progress. Technically not true. When you move through the trapper's trap, you roll the danger die. On a failure, you remove the trap, and that bad thing happens that I talked about. On a great success, nothing happens. You walk right around this trap like it wasn't there. That is why I hate the fucking trapper. I've played as him one time, and I distinctly remember reading his killer ability and thinking that he was overpowered as fuck. I was so excited to play him because I was like, this guy just sounds like a free win. He just gets to farm sacrifice progress. I was mistaken. Allow me to demonstrate what occurred that day. Several fucking times. Hey, Skaterboy76 in the edit here. I just wanted to correct myself a little bit because I don't know how I didn't think of this while I was recording it, but this is actually being a little too generous to the trapper because you don't know where survivors are going to be when you lay your movement cards, obviously. So all of this is assuming that I predicted correctly where the survivors were going to go. So whenever I say, oh, there's a survivor here, so I'm going to do this, what I should be saying is, I think a survivor is going to go here, so I do this. So everything you're about to see, even despite how dog shit it is the best case scenario where I predicted correctly. All of this could go even worse if I just mispredicted where somebody was going. And then, like I say, this exact scenario you're about to see happened twice when I actually played this. So that is twice that I did correctly predict where the survivors were going and set up everything accordingly. And you will see how I am rewarded for that. You can say there and there, and I'm here. What I would do is I would say, okay, got a plan. I'm going to move up here, hit this guy, push him into a trap, and then move down here, hit this girl, push her into a trap, bam. I get 2 sacrifice progress on 1 turn. Ooh, and I didn't even have to hook anybody. I'm a fourth of the way to winning, and everybody's still got the bonus sacrifice progress I get if I hook them for the first time. Easy win! I will note, I did not realize at the time that the rules actually say you can only use each perk once per round. You're not allowed to activate it multiple times. So technically my plan was flawed from the start, which also carries into why the trapper low-key sucks in a different way, because like the only way you can push people into traps is with that 1 perk, and you can only use it once per round. Because why the fuck would anybody walk into a trap? The thing is, survivors go before you, right? So if I place traps on my turn, the survivors know that those traps are there, and they can just not go through them. They can just take alternate paths. Unless I like fully corner somebody to the point where like if I Sable down here and I manage to get a trap here, here, and here, and there's nothing she can do but go through a trap, but that is so hard to do because it means that I need to not only get her into that space, but then set up all the traps around her, and that all has to happen in like a turn so that she can't just leave while I'm setting that up. Or like the survivor's not going to willingly move into a space if I have 2 of the 3 traps in so that I can put the 3rd one down and be like, aha, I've got you. Like the only way that you're ever going to get trap value is by pushing them through. And you can only do that once per round. I didn't realize that at the time. So, whatever. Don't worry about it. I move up. I smack Vittorio. Please, Vittorio, please. Is this Vittorio? That is Gabriel Soma. I smack Gabriel. I push him into the trap. And then I roll. Or he rolls. It's fine. He just gets to go through the trap. Nothing happens. What are you gonna do?
It's me again. Evidently, I was not fucking angry enough when I was recording this because I am not bringing up as much shit as I should be. I would like to point out that if I was playing by the rules and if I was only using each perk once per round, I would not be able to use Brutal Strength anymore. I would have fucking wasted it because whether or not the trap goes off has nothing to do with whether or not I used Brutal Strength. I used it. Just because it didn't do anything for me doesn't mean I didn't use it. So it would be fucking over.
I've got a second attack lined up. Remember, Sable was up here. Vault over. Smack Sable. Brutal Strength. Sable, get in my trap. Hurrah. 2 separate turns. I correctly predict where the survivors are going to go, set up my movement cards accordingly to be able to push them into the same space through the same trap. And what happens? Both times, I get no reward for that because they rolled well. 2 separate turns that happen. I shit you not. I don't remember how many times I got a trap to trigger in that game. It wasn't a lot, and that's probably a skill issue. I would estimate it was about 8 times that I got people into a trap. And again, a lot of those were probably because I cheated and used Brutal Strength multiple times in a turn when I'm not supposed to be able to do that. But fuck you. Of those 8 times, this part I do specifically remember. 2 times the entire game. 2 times. Somebody failed the trap roll. Every other time it was a great success. I've never seen so many great successes in my fucking life. You'd think they were running hyper-focus stakeout with how many fucking great successes were in this game. Like, it was insane. I didn't have a killer power for the first 80% of the game because every time I tried to use it, they just didn't fucking walk into the trap. And you might think, oh, well, if they were avoiding your traps anyway, then you still have you still have a killer power because you're blocking off routes for them because they probably don't want to take the gamble on the die. And that's true. I don't remember what map we were playing on. We were not playing on this map. Okay, this point isn't going to seem as strong because I don't know the specific example. Fuck you, past me. I figured out the specific example. It was the Forsaken Boneyard. This whole right side of the map is a nightmare for the Trapper. Because look, if they're in the Sepulchre and I know that they want to go to the Arch, let's say that there's like a gen that's 1 progress away from being completed in the Arch, and I know that they're going to go down there. If I wanted to trap it off, I would need to spend 2 traps to do so, because if I trap off the sneak, they can just fucking sprint, and vice versa. And they can also come from down here because they could crouch or sprint. Like, but I would have to spend all 4 of my traps to trap somebody in the Arch. And they spent so much of the game over here when we played, so it was literally fucking impossible. And so, like, I have to spend all my traps blocking all of those off. I have to spend my entire turn to put a trap down. That's my entire interaction. If I want to put a trap down, but I'm in a space with a survivor, or I'm in a space with an almost completed generator, I have to sacrifice my turn to put that trap down instead of kicking the gen, instead of hitting the survivor. It's like a fucking... Setup killers are not fun in this board game because the board game, it goes fast. Because again, if a survivor rolls 1 great success, that means a generator is 2/3 of the way to completion. When that generator is 1/4 of the way to them being able to repair the exit gates. Like, this game can snowball so quickly for the survivors. And this fucking... You don't have time to set shit up. Listen. I understand why you have to roll the danger die when you go through a trap, because, like I said earlier, if you just got a sacrifice progress every time you push somebody into a trap, the trap would be the most overpowered killer in the whole board game, including all the expansions and everything. They could have just had it be the trapper, and that would have been it, because that'd be the only one worth fucking playing, because you would just instantly win, basically. I get that. I understand why the die is there, but holy fucking shit. Is it annoying when you get unlucky. And I do think the Trapper's a strong killer. I just think I got really unlucky. But the annoying thing is that because of the Trapper's design, that's even possible. Like, the fact that you can get unlucky and not have a killer power for the first 80% of the game, it sucks. I wish the Trapper had a perk where, like, maybe instead of agitation being you get excited in anticipation of hooking your prey while you attack. When you attack a healthy survivor, move along any path. That's some bullshit. I never used that a single time. That's a dog shit perk. I don't understand the point of that. Like, it's so rare to get value out of that, I think. Because you have to, like, have played your movement cards expecting that you would do that, which means you have to bank both of your turns on that. Sometimes you play your first movement card expecting a survivor to go somewhere, they don't go where you expected them to. Like, maybe, you know, I'm in the same space as Sable, I want to catch her, and so I'm like, oh, I think that she's going to sprint, so I play sprint. But then she actually crouched, and she went over here. Hey, that sucks. Them's the breaks. So I sprint, and I just go somewhere else. I figure out something else to do. That's the kind of turn where you would use your killer power to place a trap, place a clone, whatever the fuck. But the thing with agitation, to play into it, my plan had to be, okay, I go into the same space as Sable, hit her, proc agitation, and then my next move is like a vault or something. Or actually, you can't get there from there, fuck. Vault. Let's say I wanted to get to the barn, so I was like, my plan in my head was, okay, I'll sprint, and then Sable will also sprint, and then I'll hit her, and then I'll proc agitation to get to the pumps, and then for my second movement card, I played my vault, so that I can get into the barn, and I can hit Thalita. Yes, my plan, it's all coming together. But then, in practice what happens is, Sable crouches. Well, I sprinted, and then I vaulted for my second movement, which means I don't get a turn. Or I guess I could say that I sprint here and then vault back into the space. Hell yeah! Agitation just seems like such a shit perk, because you can't play into it, you know? You have to just, like, be constantly paying attention to the potential that agitation. You have to be like, okay, what's my second movement card? My second movement card is crouch. Okay, so if I sprint into here and I hit Renato, and then I can agitation. Okay, well, where could I move with agitation? I can move here. I can move there two ways. I can move here, or I can move here. Okay, and my second movement card is crouch, which means that if I moved here, then I would go there, and if I moved here, then I would go there. Okay, and if I moved here, then I could go there. Okay, so that's all the things that I could do. Or if I don't agitate, or if I don't do agitation, then I don't get a movement card because I've selected crouch. Okay, so I do need to do agitation. Like, it seems like an impossible perk to get value out of. Here's what I think they should have replaced it with. When a survivor rolls the danger die, they roll it twice. If either of the results were a failure, it is counted as a failure. That way, you can use the perk to buff your traps, to make it's still luck dependent, but you can tip the scales in your favor. Instead of having to completely rely on the dice rolls to be on your side, you can influence the dice rolls a bit. Like, I think it's crazy that one of his perks is when a survivor would make a skill check, they roll the danger die instead, when, like, he already has his killer power is completely based around them rolling the danger die in the first place. That just does nothing on the most important roll that they make when you're the trapper, which is the one to see if your fucking traps do anything. You don't have anything that can do anything about that. You know. Anyway, that's the trapper. I hate him. In the game that I ended up playing, I actually did end up winning. Barely. I had like I had maybe 2 sacrifice progress by the time that they finished the generators, and then the exit gates ended up being completely like on split sides of the map, which meant that and everybody was grouped up on the one side, so I knew exactly where they were going, so I was able to put traps there, and then I think that was like when I did get trap value, was out of like at that very end, I got trap value, and then I was able to keep spamming unnerving presence at them to make it so that they had to roll the danger die for the skill checks on the doors, and they kept failing, and because they kept failing, I kept getting blood points, which meant that I could continue to use unnerving presence over and over and over again. And then I was able to just stall them long enough that I was just barely able to kill them. I think they had like 2 out of 3 bulbs on the exit gates. It was beautiful. It was a very, very well fought match all around. Now, a different story about a different killer who did not have so well fought of a match. For our next killer, we will be talking about the Skull Merchant. Now you'll notice I've set the board up a bit. Let me put the Skull Merchant right there. I've set the board up a bit. You will notice that there's 2 objectives in all of these spaces. 2 objective tokens. I mean, objective props would be the word. Whereas they are only supposed to have 1. These little symbols say how many of each type of token is supposed to be in each space. And they will have twice the amount of objectives that they're supposed to have. How weird. I wonder what that could be about. Anyway. Yeah, that's step 1 of Scully's setup, and it'll become clear what that is doing for her in just a moment. I will also say I am going to be looking at this killer for the first time live. I played against this killer one time when my friend was playing as her, and we fucking demolished him. I don't know if he got any sacrifice progress. He might have gotten like 1 hook, but we just shitted all over him. And we came to the conclusion that this killer is just fucking ass cheeks. But maybe he was just playing it wrong. Let's see. The Skull Merchant. Adriana Imai? I don't know. IMAI. Difficulty easy. The Skull Merchant is a tactical killer, able to place drones that detect and debilitate her targets. You begin the game at your most powerful, with your drones passively harassing the survivors. Make use of your early lead to end the game fast. Game afoot should make quick work of your prey. Her killer power is Eyes in the Sky. Place a face-up drone from the game board onto your board, or place a drone from your board face-up into your space. You start with no drones on your board, so you might be wondering how you get drones on your board. Well, let's say that Gabriel Soma here ends up sneaking and goes into mine entrance and says, I want to do a generator, so I'll flip one of the objective tokens. What? Oh, he got lucky. It was actually a generator. Cool. So he works the generator. Sable then sneaks down. Is like, I'm going to sneak into Scully's space. You'll never expect it. And then I want to do a generator. I'm going to flip an objective token. Whop. Rutro. That's not a generator. That is a drone. So that's the thing that, again, the Skull Merchant, if she wanted, could take it off the board and put it onto her board, or she can put one that's on her board onto the board. But what's the purpose of them? You can place them, sure, but is that just for fun? Like, what do you do? Well, drones are objective props. After setup, add a face-down drone to each space, then shuffle all objective props in that space. That's what I did at the beginning. When a survivor succeeds in a skill check in a space with 1 or more face-up drones, the Skull Merchant gains 1 blood point, and 1 drone in the room is flipped face down. When a survivor fails a skill check in a space with 1 or more face-up drones, they become wounded, and 1 drone in the room is flipped face down. Survivors may interact with drones to return them to the Skull Merchant's board. So, to review, let's pretend that this was revealed already, and Soma decided to work that gem. He failed, which means not only does the Skull Merchant get a blood point because you rolled a failure, that happens every time that you roll a failure, the killer always gets a blood point, but then he becomes wounded. Now, what if he's already wounded? Nothing happens. Nothing happens then. But let's go back in time, and let's go ahead and let him re-roll. Let's say that he didn't roll a failure. He got a success. Same effects as always. You know, 1 boink. 1 progress gets added to the gen, but Scully gains a blood point anyway. So if you're rolling while you're in a space with a drone, then Scully will always get a blood point. Now, that must mean that her perks are pretty damn good if her whole thing is based around getting blood points, because you'll notice they do nothing to affect your rolls. It's not like they're making you roll the danger die. It's not like they're making you roll twice, take the lower result. They're just reacting based on your rolls and giving the Skull Merchant blood points. That's her whole power, is the ability to get blood points, and I guess if you roll a failure, you get wounded. Which, like, honestly, there's certain characters in this game that have perks that make healing just so fucking trivial. So honestly, being wounded is not even the worst thing in this game. But, you know, it's not nothing. I actually don't think that came up a single time when I was playing with my friend. I actually didn't know that was a thing. So I don't know if he just didn't notice that on his board, or if we just never rolled a failure when we played against him. But nobody ever became wounded from rolling a failure when I played against Scully. Now, before we get to our perks, I want to mention one quick thing about the drones, okay? Let's again go back in time. Renato. Fuck, that's not Renato. That is Gabriel Soma. Crouches. He decides to flip an objective. He flipped a drone! Oh no! What's he ever going to do? The drone's in his space. That means that next time that somebody in there flips or tries to interact with a gen, then they might get injured, or they're going to give the skull merchant blood points. Oh no! Whatever could we do? Let's read the last sentence of the skull merchant's passive effect again. The skull merchant... Fuck. Immediately fucked it up. Survivors may interact with drones to return them to the skull merchant's board. So he flips the drone. No more drone. No more drone. It's just gone. You don't need to worry about it. It's on the skull merchant's board now, which does mean that she can place it again, but nothing's stopping the survivors from just putting it back on her board again. And like, I know obviously that can be a little tedious. You're effectively, the survivor has to spend their whole turn doing that. But let's not forget, there's 4 survivors, and Scully can place at absolute most 3 drones. If she has 3 drones on her board, and she spends both of her turns plus a killer bonus turn placing drones, then she can place 3 drones max, which means there's still 1 survivor that doesn't have to worry about drones. Plus, that is if she spends her entire turn doing that, which means she's not doing fucking anything else. Also, she can only place them in her space, not in adjacent space. So she needs to get into your space, and then instead of hitting you, place the drone. Although obviously, like, you wouldn't do that because they're going to move next turn anyway. So she entirely just has to be predicting where you're going to go and placing the drones there, in which case you can just not go where drones are. The only real downside that comes with it is that it takes another turn to find a generator, because obviously here, he flips the drone. Oh, he doesn't get to work a generator this turn. But then next turn, maybe Sable comes down here and we know that that's a generator. If you have survivors that are paying attention and remembering which tokens are and aren't drones, then you're kind of fucked as the skull merchant, because once they're revealed, you kind of know. And like the whole bit with them getting flipped face down after they activate, like, honestly, I don't even think that's necessary. If all they do is give her a blood point and they don't do anything else, like, you didn't really need to make it so that they disable after they proc. You could have them proc infinitely. I don't think it'd be a threat anyway. But let's see what these perks are, because maybe she has some fucking crazy perks that are going to make us understand. Again, I would like to reiterate how difficult it is to actually get value out of the drones. In theory, you should be farming blood points off of them, but in practice, if 2 survivors go to the same space and there's only 1 drone in there, first survivor can come clear the drone, second survivor can work the thing. Or not even a skill check to get rid of the drone. You just say it's done and it's done. Let's see what these perks are about. It does mention Game Afoot specifically in her killer description as being the one that you should be prioritizing using. So I'm going to save that for last. Her third perk, for 1 blood point, Thwack. Your prey is terrified by your relentless pursuit. After you reveal a survival or altruism prop, remove it. Survival and altruism props are the green and blue ones. They're all just things to help you. They're not actively contributing to the goal. So, for Thwack, after you reveal a survival or altruism prop, if you decide that it's too useful and you don't want the survivors to have that, then you can spend 1 blood point to remove it. That's something that you're really only going to be using late game, because early game you want to be just revealing the red ones, because you need to get all of those hooks revealed as early as possible. And also the hex totems can be really good to get revealed. Those are the only 2 things that are in the red tokens. You want to be flipping reds, and you really only flip blues or greens when you have no more reds left to flip. Or as Scully, honestly, you might even be flipping yellows on purpose so that you can try to get your drones revealed. So like, I don't know how often you're going to be flipping green and blue props as Scully, and the ability to remove them is like, whatever, because so many of the survival props, survival and altruism props are just like not really good. Like I very rarely see people use any of them other than the chest and like maybe a pallet every now and then. Her next perk for 1 blood point is Leverage. Kick your competitors when they're down. Never let them regain lost ground. At the start of the planning phase, choose a survivor. That survivor cannot become healthy this round. I do remember my friend using this one a fair bit. That one, it's neat. It's good. But again, being wounded isn't the worst thing in the world, and unless you're just like constantly sinking blood points into that every round, it's sort of like, you know, it's just more of an annoyance than it is. I don't think there was ever a point where our friend used that on somebody and we went like, oh fuck, oh shit, oh my god, that throws a wrench in our entire plan. Fuck, what the fuck are we gonna do, guys? Holy fucking shit, oh my god, oh, we're ruined, oh no! That just didn't happen. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's, again, better than nothing, but it's not crazy enough. I'm not convinced for a kill. If that was on a different killer, I think it'd be really good. If the Trapper had that perk, I'd be like, holy fucking shit, that's crazy. That actually would be insane on the Trapper, now that I say it out loud, because like one of the main issues I was having with the Trapper was that when I was playing Trapper, was that Michaela Reed was in the party, and so she's able to just heal people as much as she fucking wants from like a distance. Like I'm not gonna get into it, but Michaela Reed's fucking insane. And so everybody was healthy like the whole game. If I was able to make people not be healthy, that'd be crazy. But like on a killer whose whole killer ability is about getting blood points, you'd really hope that the perks would be like really good, and that's just pretty good. I should mention really quickly, because I did look ahead and I know this is going to be relevant for the next perk. I don't remember if I said this, but the other main purpose of blood points is that for the killer specifically, you can spend 4 blood points to take a killer bonus turn. I think I mentioned that in passing earlier, but I do want to emphasize it more. And killer bonus turns are really good because unlike other turns where you have to play your movement cards in advance, the way that killer bonus turns work is you actually just pick a movement card that you haven't played yet, play that one, move along that path, interaction, and then that's your third turn, which means that like if I had, you know, crouched into here for my first turn and then sprinted into here and I smack Sable and she's injured now, injured Sable, then I can be killer bonus turn, play my wait card, and then I just get to pick up Sable. That is not true. That is propaganda. I lied to you. I actually do know this rule. I don't know why I forgot it while I was recording this, but I've never done it in the actual board game because I do know this rule. You cannot pick somebody up in the same round that you attacked them. So that's not a thing you can do with killer bonus turns. Killer bonus turns are still really good. You just can't 2-tap somebody like that. But there's other really useful things that you can do with a killer bonus turn. Like you hit somebody and then somebody's on a connected path and you just go get to hit them and you know guaranteed that you're going to hit. That's the benefit of killer bonus turns, is that it gets rid of the risk of you not getting to take advantage of your movement card. You know where everybody is. You know you're going to hit them. So killer bonus turns are crazy. And so having blood points is good for the sake of getting to do a killer bonus turn, which you can only do once per round. But still good. So that is some value. But again, you're only getting 1 blood point every time that somebody does a skill check with a drone, which again, they're probably just going to fucking get rid of your drones. And 1 blood point, and you have to spend 4 of them to fucking get a killer bonus turn. I don't know. For final perk, Game Afoot for 2 blood points. First you pick apart. Fuck. Game Afoot. 2 blood points. First you pick your prey. Then you pick it apart. When you would attack a healthy survivor during a killer bonus turn, you pick them up instead. I won't lie to you. That's pretty good because, like I said, with killer bonus turns, you are all but guaranteed to pick up a survivor or to attack a survivor, because you really would only use the killer bonus turn if you know that you have the ability to do so. The ability to just auto pick somebody up on a killer bonus turn is really good. However, you are already spending 4 blood points to get your killer bonus turn, and then 2 of them go into proccing Game Afoot, and only on a killer bonus turn. So like you're not even going to be able to do this very regularly. Like you start with 2 blood points. Let's say perfect fucking scenario. Somehow, I don't even think this would be possible to do on first round. So let's say you're second round. First round, 4 gens get revealed. Second round, 4 drones get revealed in those same spaces, and then all the survivors are like moving in a fucking square for some reason. So we got you have a gen drone, we got gen drone, Gen, drone, gen, drone. That's what we're at by the end of it. And for some reason, none of the survivors decide to mess with the drones. They all decide to roll. And then they all, since they all roll, you get 4 blood points guaranteed. Some of them might become injured, some of them might not, who cares? You get 4 blood points guaranteed. Then you would be at 6, which means that at the end of your turn, you could spend 4 to do a killer bonus turn, and then you would have 2 left over to do your game afoot. Cool. Great. You now have 0 blood points. Which means you need to have that exact situation happen again, like 2 turns in a row. Because one person's going to be on hook now, so you can only get 3 blood points on the next turn. And that's assuming that people don't go and unhook, which means that they wouldn't be doing a skill check. Like, again, this only happens if people are doing skill checks in spaces with drones. They're not dealing with drones. And then, yeah, you get blood points, but then you have to save up so many to not only do a killer bonus turn, but do game afoot. And, like, again, don't get me wrong, I understand that all you have to do is hook every survivor once and then you win. But I don't know if you're really going to be getting that many blood points, man. That's kind of... I don't know. I don't think it's happening. I don't think Skull Merchant's a very strong killer. Like, based on the one time that I played with my friend, it seems like she's kind of dog shit. I do want to play Skull Merchant just so I can see if maybe she's not as bad as I think. I would love to get to play Skull Merchant at some point with my friends. But I get to play Dead by Daylight, the board game, like fucking like once a month. So like, I don't have friends. We talked about this. Anyway, that's all. This is supposed to be a shorter video. I mean, right now as recording, there's like 50 something minutes of footage. But I imagine that I'll be cutting a lot of it out. Yeah, I'm still figuring out how I want to set up these videos because like, I wanted to show the whole board, but I couldn't even do that. And then also now I worry that you can't see the things that you're supposed to be able to see. So I don't know. This video might look like shit. This video might be shit. But that's what you guys are used to if you watch the SkaterBoy76 channel. But anyway, if you did enjoy this video, you can feel free to leave a like and leave a comment telling me what you enjoyed about it. And if you're on mobile, you could even hype the video to try to push it out to more people. And if you're interested in seeing more of me, you can subscribe and even press the notification bell so that you'll be first to know whenever I do upload some more slop. If you didn't like this video, you can feel free to leave a dislike and leave a comment telling me what you didn't like, what I could improve on. I would love any criticism. I'm still, learning. And in any case, hopefully I will see you around, and if not, maybe I'll get you next time. Fuck. God. Damn it. Fuck. Fuck.